There is nothing worse than that feeling of helplessness when your child has an earache, you know? It's one of the most common reasons for those late night calls to the doctor. So, in this explainer, we're going to walk through exactly what's happening, why it hurts so much, and most importantly, what you can do to help. The goal here is to help you feel way more prepared and in control. So, here's our game plan. We've got 5 simple parts. First, we'll figure out if it is actually an earache. Then we'll peek behind the curtain to see what's causing all that pain. After that, we get to the really important stuff, how to make your little one feel better. We'll also talk about what to watch for after the ache is gone, and then we'll wrap it all up with a super clear action plan. All right, let's dive right into that first big question. How can you be sure it's an earache? I mean, especially when your child is too little to just point and say, "Hey, my ear hurts." Yeah, spotting the signs is absolutely the first most crucial step. And, it's not always as straightforward as you'd think. The clues are often a mix of physical things you can see and, well, just changes in how they're acting. Okay, so here are the main things you're going to want to look for. That really intense pain is what usually leads to the fussiness and crying, and you'll probably see them pulling or tugging at their ear a lot. Very often, all of this is going to come along with a fever and other classic cold symptoms, like a stuffy or runny nose. And beyond those big, obvious symptoms, there are a couple of other key signs to watch for. Like if your child just seems less responsive than usual, it might not be that they're ignoring you. It could actually be that fluid in their ear is making it hard for them to hear properly. And of course, if you see any kind of discharge coming from the ear, that's a definite signal to get it checked out. Okay, so you've seen the signs. You're pretty sure it's an earache. But what is actually going on inside your child's ear that's causing so much misery? Let's take a look. 9 times out of 10, the pain your child is feeling comes down to one thing, an infection. And to be specific, it's an infection in that tiny space right behind the eardrum. That's called the middle ear. Yep, this thing has a fancy medical name, otitis media. But the key thing to remember is that it almost never just appears out of nowhere. Think of it like the unwelcome sequel to a movie you didn't like. It almost always follows a recent cold or a sore throat. And this shows you exactly how it happens. It's like a chain reaction. It all starts with a simple cold. All that congestion blocks up this tiny little tube that connects the throat to the middle ear. That's the eustachian tube. And once that's blocked, well, germs and fluid get trapped inside. With nowhere to drain, they just build up, creating some seriously painful pressure right on the eardrum. Ouch. Now, it's also really helpful to know the difference between this and an outer ear infection. You've probably heard of it as swimmer's ear. So, otitis media, the one we're talking about, is what follows a cold and is super common in younger kids. Swimmer's ear, on the other hand, is usually from water getting stuck in the ear canal after swimming, and it tends to happen more to older kids. Okay, this is the part you've been waiting for. What can you do right now to help? Let's get right into the practical, actionable steps to help your child feel better and feel better fast. Think of this as your simple 4-step checklist. First, just keeping your child sitting up or holding them upright can actually help relieve some of that pressure. Second, and this is a big one, give them a painkiller like paracetamol. Third, if their nose is all stuffed up, a decongestant can help, but you only want to use that for a few days at most. And finally, number 4, always get in touch with your doctor. And I really can't stress this enough. This is the bottom line. Your number 1 job is to manage your child's pain. This kind of earache can be incredibly painful, so giving them an appropriate painkiller is probably the single most important thing you can do for them right away. So the worst of the pain is over. Your child seems to be on the mend. But the story isn't always finished just yet. Even after the main infection clears up, there is one more thing you need to be on the lookout for. So what's next? You're probably thinking, okay, the pain's gone, the fever's down, we're in the clear, right? Well, even after all that, the battle inside the ear might not be completely won. Sometimes there's a lingering problem. And this little follow-up issue is called glue ear. And yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's when this sticky, gluey fluid gets stuck in the middle ear because that eustachian tube still isn't draining properly. Now, the symptoms for this are different. It's less about that sharp, intense pain and more about partial hearing loss. And this is why a child might suddenly seem really inattentive or distracted. They might still complain about a mild ache, but the biggest clue is that change in their hearing. And it is really important to catch this because if it goes on for too long, it can sometimes affect their speech development. All right, we have covered a ton of ground. So let's pull all of this together into a really simple summary that you can tuck away in your brain for the next time an earache strikes. So here it is, your complete toolkit. Step 1, recognize the signs, that pain, fever, and crankiness. Step 2, understand where it's coming from. Most likely, a middle ear infection that piggybacked on a cold. Step 3, act fast with comfort, painkillers, and that all-important call to the doctor. And finally, step 4, watch. Keep an eye out for those lingering signs of glue ear after the infection seems to be gone. And here it is, our final and maybe most crucial piece of advice. Even if your child seems totally back to their old self, a follow-up check with your doctor is always, always a good idea. It just gives you that peace of mind that everything really has returned to normal, and there are no sneaky issues like glue ear hanging around. Look, an earache is never fun for anyone. But hopefully, just understanding what's going on behind the scenes and knowing exactly what your action plan is can turn a moment of worry into a moment of, okay, I got this. Our whole goal was to help you feel more confident as a parent, and we really hope you feel more prepared for whatever comes next.